I often wonder how my life would have turned out if I had listened to the people who told me to stop dreaming and be realistic. Maybe I would still be in the same small town, walking the same dusty roads, repeating the same routines every single day without ever questioning them. Maybe I would have settled into the kind of life that many people considered safe, but deep down, I knew I would have felt empty. My story begins in a place where dreaming big was not encouraged. I grew up in a modest family. My parents worked hard, not because they wanted luxury, but because they wanted survival. Food on the table, clothes that lasted years, and a roof that kept the rain away that was already enough. In many ways, I was lucky because I knew there were people who had even less. But even as a child, I remember looking up at the night sky and wondering, is this it? Is this the limit of my life? There was a part of me that refused to believe my destiny was only to repeat the same cycle as everyone else. When I was a boy, I loved stories. I loved listening to people who traveled, who achieved something, who dared to go against the current. We didn't have much access to books, but whenever I found one, even an old, torn book that someone had thrown away, would treasure it like gold. Those stories gave me a window into another world. In school, I wasn't the top student. In fact, many times teachers told me, "You're average, don't expect too much." Some even laughed when I said I wanted to do something meaningful with my life. They didn't mean to be cruel, but they were repeating what they had been taught. That life was about playing safe, staying quiet, and accepting what was given. But something inside me refused to settle. I remember once, when I was about 10 years old, I told a classmate, "One day I'm going to do something big. I don't know what, but I'll make it happen." He laughed, and others laughed with him. At that age, the laughter hurt. It made me question myself. Was I being foolish? Was I trying to reach for something that didn't belong to people like me? But at the same time, that laughter planted a seed in my heart. It was the seed of determination. If people thought I couldn't, then I had to prove that I could. Their doubt became my fuel. Still, the road wasn't easy. As I grew older, life kept reminding me of limitations. Our family couldn't afford many things that others had. Classmates got new shoes or new books. I had to reuse old ones. When others could pay for extra classes, I had to teach myself from whatever scraps of knowledge I could gather. And yet, these struggles gave me something valuable: resilience. I learned that I didn't need everything handed to me to keep going. I learned to survive with little, and that survival built a strength inside me that no one could take away. Even though I wasn't the best in academics, I was curious. I asked questions others didn't bother to ask. I wanted to know how the world worked, how people achieved their dreams, how ordinary men and women managed to turn their lives into something extraordinary. I looked around my small town and saw how most people stopped chasing their dreams once they faced the first obstacle. They would say, "I wanted to do this, but it was too hard." Or they would say, "People like us aren't meant for big things." And little by little, they let go of their own fire. Watching them scared me. It scared me more than poverty. It scared me more than failure. I didn't want to wake up one day and realize I had given up on myself. There was one night I still remember clearly. The sky was clear, and I lay outside, looking at the stars. I was about 15, and life felt heavy. I had failed an important exam, and everyone around me said maybe I should stop aiming so high. I felt like my dream was slipping away. But as I stared at the stars, I told myself quietly, no matter how many times I fail, I will not stop. I will keep chasing my dream, even if I don't know exactly what it looks like yet. That promise I made to myself became the turning point. From then on, I treated every challenge as a test of how badly I wanted my dream. The first real test came when I decided to step out of my comfort zone. I wanted to try something no one in my family had ever done. It was risky, and many told me I was wasting my time. But I kept reminding myself, if I don't try, I will never know. And if I never know, I will regret it for the rest of my life. That was when I truly began my journey of chasing dreams, with nothing but hope in my heart and determination in my steps. I thought the hardest part was making the decision to chase my dreams, but I was wrong. The decision was only the beginning. The real battle started after that, when I had to face the world with nothing but determination in my hands. I quickly realized that chasing dreams is not a straight road. It is full of turns, blocks, and storms that try to push you back to where you started. The first steps I took felt exciting at first, but soon reality came crashing in. I had no clear path, money to invest, and no mentor to guide me. All I had was the fire inside me, and sometimes even that fire felt small against the wind of challenges blowing in my face. The days turned into long tests of patience. I woke up early, worked hard at small jobs to survive, and then used the remaining hours to build my skills and push myself closer to my dream. Many nights I stayed awake long after everyone else had gone to sleep, studying, practicing, and reminding myself why I started. But no matter how hard I worked, progress was slow, painfully slow, and sometimes invisible. I felt like I was climbing a mountain with no peak in sight. There were moments when I almost gave up. Friends who once believed in me started to disappear. They said things like, "It's been years and you're still not there. Maybe it's time to accept reality." Their words stung, not because they were cruel, but because sometimes I feared they were right. What if my dream was too big for someone like me? What if I was chasing something that would never happen? Those doubts whispered to me at night, and there were evenings when I sat in the dark, asking myself if I should just stop. But every time that thought came, I remembered the boy who looked at the stars and promised he would never stop. I couldn't betray that boy. I couldn't betray myself. So even when it felt impossible, I pushed forward. I took the small wins and held them close to my heart. A kind word from a stranger, a small opportunity that opened, a skill I improved. All of these became proof that I was moving, even if it was just one step at a time. Slowly, I learned that chasing dreams wasn't about giant leaps. It was about small steps taken consistently. Every day I asked myself one question: what can I do today that brings me a little closer to my dream? Some days the answer was reading for an hour. Some days it was practicing a skill until my body was exhausted. Some days it was just keeping myself motivated when nothing else seemed to work. Progress wasn't dramatic, but it was steady, and steady progress is powerful. Still, there were sacrifices. While others spent their evenings relaxing, I spent mine working. While others enjoyed comfort, I pushed myself into discomfort. I gave up parties, trips, and many moments of ease, not because I didn't want them, but because I wanted my dream more. People thought I was strange. They said I was wasting my youth. But I believed something different. I believed that sacrificing comfort today could build a tomorrow worth living. The more I worked, the more I discovered how lonely the path of chasing dreams can be. There were times I felt completely isolated, like no one understood why I was working so hard for something they couldn't see. And loneliness is dangerous because it makes you question whether your struggle is worth it. I had nights where I cried quietly, wondering why I chose such a difficult road. But then I reminded myself of the alternative. If I quit, I would go back to an ordinary life, one that might feel safe but would leave me restless forever. That thought gave me the strength to keep moving, and then something happened that reminded me why persistence matters. After years of effort, a small opportunity came my way. It wasn't the breakthrough I dreamed of, but it was a door slightly opening. I had a choice. I could ignore it because it wasn't big enough, or I could grab it and make it count. Cool. I decided to grab. Agree. Giving everything I had, and because of that, that small opportunity turned into something bigger. For the first time, I felt like the world was responding to my effort. That moment taught me a powerful lesson. Dreams don't come all at once. They arrive in small pieces, disguised as challenges, disguised as small chances that most people ignore. If you take those pieces seriously, they add up. They create momentum. And momentum creates breakthroughs. But with progress came new challenges. Success, even in small amounts, attracts attention. Some people celebrated me, but others grew jealous. Some who once laughed now pretended they always believed. I realized that when you start climbing higher, not everyone will cheer for you. Some will try to pull you down, others will doubt your ability to keep going. It hurt at first, but I learned not to focus on them. I learned to focus only on my path, because the journey was mine, not theirs. Every milestone I reached gave me new strength, but also reminded me how far I still had to go. And I accepted that. Chasing dreams is not a sprint, it's a marathon. It requires patience, endurance, and the ability to keep moving even when the finish line is invisible. With every milestone I reached, I could see how far I had come, but I could also see how much further I still had to go. The mountain of dreams was taller than I ever imagined, and yet the higher I climbed, the clearer my view became. Began to understand that the journey itself was shaping me more than the dream itself. Each setback had given me patience, each failure had given me resilience, and each small success had given me confidence. The boy who once stared at the stars with nothing but hope was now becoming someone who knew how to fight for what he believed in. But the fight wasn't over. As I moved into the next stage of my journey, the challenges grew bigger. It was no longer just about surviving or finding small opportunities. Now I had to prove myself on larger stages. With that came pressure, expectations, and new kinds of failures. There were days when I gave my absolute best and still fell short. There were projects I poured my heart into that collapsed overnight. There were people I trusted who betrayed me, and others I counted on who disappeared when I needed them most. These moments could have broken me, but instead they forced me to grow stronger. I realized that chasing dreams is not only about hard work and persistence, it is also about learning how to stand up again and again. No matter how many times you fall, the more I chased, the more I understood that dreams are not gifts, they are battles. You don't receive them by chance, you win them by refusing to quit. And winning doesn't always mean success in the way the world defines it. Sometimes, the real victory is simply continuing the journey when everything inside you wants to give up. I began to see myself not just as a dreamer, but as a fighter, someone who accepted pain and failure as part of the price of reaching higher. And then came the breakthrough moment I had been waiting for. It didn't arrive in the form of a miracle. It arrived as the result of years of invisible effort. One opportunity opened, then another, and suddenly I found myself standing in places I once thought were unreachable. The doors that had always been closed began to open, not because I was lucky, but because I had been persistent enough to keep knocking. And when those doors opened, I was ready. 'Cause the years of struggle had prepared me. I won't pretend that success suddenly made everything easy. In fact, new heights brought new problems, greater responsibilities, higher expectations, and the fear of losing what I had built. But by then, I had learned the most important lesson of all. The journey never truly ends. Chasing dreams is not about reaching one final destination. It is about constantly growing, constantly pushing, constantly believing that there is more within you than the world has yet seen. Now when I look back, I see the path clearly. I see the child who was laughed at, the teenager who failed, the young adult who worked late nights, and the dreamer who cried in the dark but kept going anyway. I see all those versions of myself, and I realize they were all necessary. Without the struggle, I wouldn't have the strength. Without the failure, I wouldn't have the wisdom. Without the doubt, I wouldn't have the faith. And this is why I tell you, keep chasing your dreams. No matter how far they seem, no matter how long it takes, no matter how many people tell you it's impossible. The world will doubt you, circumstances will test you, and life will try to break you. But if you refuse to quit, if you take every small step, if you believe even when belief feels foolish, one day you will look back and realize you climbed higher than you ever imagined. This is my story, but it is also yours. Because deep inside you is a dream too, one that the world may not understand yet. Don't let it die. Don't bury it under fear or doubt. Protect it, feed it, and chase it with everything you have. One day, that dream will not just be something you are chasing, it will be something you are living. And when that day comes, you will understand why the journey was worth it.